Freaky Tales is from writer and director team Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, who made some indie films like It's Kind of a Funny Story and most recently made Captain Marvel. I thought that last movie was okay, but my main issue with it, as well as what I think a lot of other people thought, is that it was just a bland, generic Marvel movie. Well, no matter what you think about this one, I can't imagine anybody thinking it was bland or generic. This is an anthology movie with 4 tales of different people in 1980s Oakland that intersect with each other. And true to the title, these tales are freaky. I don't want to say much about what these stories are about, but it's mostly kind of like Pulp Fiction, dealing with crime and violence, but often with a dark comedic side. There's a surprise cameo from a certain celebrity as a video store clerk who has an extended scene with Pedro Pascal where he lists some of his favorite movies. And that's probably the most Tarantino sentence ever. The only thing that would have made it more Tarantino would have been if he was talking with Salma Hayek's foot in his mouth. But it doesn't completely rip off Tarantino. It also brings to mind the violent sci-fi horror type movies of the 80s. It's not a horror movie, but it is violent and has bizarre underlying sci-fi elements. It opens with the text called describing a bizarre neon green force that's been showing up throughout the Bay Area. It shows up briefly in all these otherwise semi-grounded stories, but it's never explained or even mentioned in depth in the actual movie. It's all just a metaphor for the character's will or something, but that only makes it all the more freaky. And the movie also has an interesting stylized look, many times alternating between modern day film and sequences that are made to look like they're playing on an older projector or a VHS tape. The first 2 stories are relatively free of surprises, but they're all still definitely entertaining. The first story deals with punks fighting Nazis, so you know that's gotta be awesome. The second story is a little bit of an odd one out, as it's the only one to not have any crime or murder and instead feels more like the Freaky Tales version of 8 Mile. It still fits in with the overall tone and themes, and Dominique Thorne and the rapper Normani make a likable team as the protagonists. The second half is where things start to get a little less predictable. I'm not saying there's any massive twists or anything, but it's not always as easy to see where things are going just from the setup. It also has some of the more memorable characters. Every actor listed on this poster appears only in these 2 stories, and so does the surprise cameo. Reminder, I said in the poster, not the trailer. That one mentions people in the first half. These stories both deal more with organized crime, making the Pulp Fiction comparisons more accurate than ever. My personal favorite is the 4th one. Yes, it establishes the strongest connection between these 2 stories and ties up everything, but it's also an interesting concept and showcases the sheer entertainment of watching bad guys get cut up with a sword. Anyway, this movie has everything. Punk rock culture, rap battles, dead Nazis, violent sword fights, gangsters, revenge stories, all done with a highly entertaining style and a love of both cult cinema and music. Some of the blood effects look pretty fake, specifically when they use CGI, but overall it's fresh, at times funny, and of course, freaky.
Miramax Films is proud to present one of the most celebrated motion pictures of the year. The winner of the 1994 Palme d'Or, the best picture of the Cannes Film Festival.
Die, you mother!
A new film directed by Quentin Tarantino. Pulp Fiction.
A Minecraft movie is from director Jared Hess, the guy behind Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre, written by Chris Bowman, Hubble Palmer, Neil Widener, Gavin James, and Chris Galletta, with a story by Bowman, Palmer, and Alex Schroeder. A movie that's been in production hell for over a decade, and when people actually saw stuff from it, they hated pretty much everything about it. So of course, it's the biggest movie in the world right now. Now, I don't think I've ever played Minecraft. I think this is the second week in a row where I didn't play the game, and if I did play it, I probably sucked at it. I'm not that creative. Hey, who wants to support my filmmaking career? But anyway, no, this isn't a Minecraft channel. I don't like kids that way. I pretty much just found myself at the theater because I wasn't dragged there, but I probably wouldn't have seen it otherwise. And definitely not this soon. Fortunately, I got one of the quieter theaters, so I didn't have to sit in a room full of little kids screaming chicken jockey. And as a complete outsider, this wasn't too bad. I mean, it could have been way worse. There's still a lot I didn't like about it, but there's also some bright spots here that make it worth it. A lot of that probably comes from the director. With Napoleon Dynamite, he pretty much set the scene for my generation's middle school years, and now he's done that for another generation. And he often does it with the same type of humor. And those scenes where you can tell that this is the guy behind Napoleon Dynamite are the high points. Of Quirky characters giving weird, deadpan humor, and most of the time it works. In fact, I think it was kind of better before they went into Minecraft when it was just that kind of humor in a more traditionally Jared Hess setting. Yeah, I guess that last part is more of a con for this movie. And the cast has good chemistry with each other. Obviously, one of the most notable actors is Jack Black as Steve. Yeah, as much has been said about how he looks nothing like the mascot, outside the obvious fact that he doesn't have a square head, they basically just threw a blue shirt onto a fat middle-aged man with a beard and called him Steve. And guess what? The kids love this fat middle-aged man with a beard. And he's a pretty big player in this type of movie. He's been a very charismatic guy since forever. He pretty much stole the entire Super Mario Bros. Movie, even did the impossible task of making Dear Santa almost feel like an actual movie. And he brings that same energy to this role. But surprisingly, I found myself liking Jason Momoa more. He's a quirky Jared Hess character. When you know it's that director, Momoa starts to feel more like the karate teacher from Napoleon Dynamite. He is fully dedicated to playing this weird guy, and he ends up being one of the more charming characters here. With this and Fast and Furious, we're seeing a whole new campier side to this guy, and it's working very well. The mixture of CGI and live action take a little work getting used to, but when it does, it feels like an interesting world. Probably as interesting as it is in the game. And by the end, I found myself pretty invested in the climax. The movie doesn't take itself seriously, which probably helps to make its flaws more tolerable, but it isn't so jokey that nothing matters. But of course, there's also a lot wrong with it. Once again, the mixture of live actors and CGI backgrounds take a while to get used to. With how well this is doing, do you think Paramount wonders if they could have just saved money by not fixing Sonic? And a lot of the jokes and situations are a lot less funny than others. There are sequences which are kinda just difficult to get through. They do cater a little too much to children at times. There's legitimately a scene where somebody says he's going to unalive somebody. No, it's not played as a joke, an actual threat, and he said unalive. And no, it's not because it's a family movie or whatever. Family movies can say kill. Hell, they actually killed a lot of block creatures in this same movie. It's basically just, the kids are saying this, right? The story kinda blows too. Generic kid stuff without a whole lot for the parents, at least plot-wise. Yeah, this is a kids movie through and through. But the kids do evidently love it. They yearn for the mines, motherfucker. But there are still some things here for the older audiences. For most of it, I kind of alternated between this movie sucks and this movie's good, and ultimately settled on the latter. After seeing it, I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, but then I remembered that all 3 Sonic movies got 3 stars, and they're all better than this, so now it's a 3-star movie. This isn't exactly for me, but I still found some good stuff out of it. Yes, we should ask for better for our kids, but until the next great animated movie comes out, this should tie them over. It's this generation's Space Jam, and it's better than the new Space Jam. Fun for kids, adults won't completely hate it. Although it's a disaster for theater etiquette.